Hi, welcome to the Hungry Bookworm. Today, it's a nice day, so I decided to head out with my bookworm into our haystack. Nothing better than a haystack read, I guess. And we decided to choose Catalyst by Kristin Smith. We got this one from the Clean Teen Publishing team. Thank you very much. And it's the first book in the Deception Game series. This happens to also be the first book from Kristin Smith, so it's her debut novel. It came out around the end of November in 2016 and is a dystopian for the young adult audience, which means it takes place in the all not too far future, this one at least, in about, I'd say 80 to 100 years, and involves an evil corporation instead of the evil government. Think Hunger Games, Divergent, is kind of in that direction. Actually, that's why when I got this, I was a little, I wasn't sure if I'd like it or not, because I've been reading an awful lot of dystopian lately, and they tend to get a little bit repetitive from the ideas and things. So when I dove into this one, I wasn't sure. Luckily, I was pleasantly surprised and really couldn't put this one down at all. It has actually a pretty easy plot. It starts out with a girl named Mara who's 16, 17, lives in Las Vegas. She has her little sister, her sick mother with her. Las Vegas is no longer the wonderful city it used to be, but is falling down. All the other stuff, like the rides and stuff, are sitting on the side, rusting. Mara has to earn money through a couple side jobs, which she keeps losing. She's not a great worker, I guess. I don't know. And the interesting thing, in 100 years, guess what poor people eat? Bologna! They eat bologna for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Mara hates bologna. Actually, I totally can understand that. I'm not a huge bologna fan. The idea of eating it for every meal, oh my gosh. I kind of wonder, I'm going to have to ask Kristin Smith what her feelings are bologna is and why in the world she chose that. But in any case, Mara doesn't want bologna anymore, since I can't blame her. So she is a thief on the side. And the thieving isn't going so great, so when she gets offered a job that's high risk, but there's a lot of money involved, so she takes it. And it goes south, she lands in prison. That's where this story starts. As said, it involves an evil corporation more. There's a corporation in the town who has just started with genetics designing, and they're forming the perfect human being. So it touches upon this area. There's also a rebellion side, so you're looking at a lot of action, intense scenes, and bloody scenes, and all those fight things, escape, and those kind of things are involved. So this is a book that does have a really fast pace the whole way through. But what grabbed my attention and totally surprised me with this book were none of those things, but that the fact it starts with this fairly simple plot, as I said, but by the end of the book, it is so woven, layered with intrigue. I mean, I just couldn't believe how complex this story gets. It's like every few pages, there's something more added in, another secret, which just totally dwells in directions you never saw coming. Not only that, the characters are really interesting insofar you think you know somebody, and then there's some things that happen and you realize, oh my gosh, this is more complex than I thought. These people think differently. They're not what you expect, but then that could twist around again. So there was always something new coming, and it always dove deeper. And the best part, it kind of makes sense. It's not like sometimes you read these books and they just pull things out of the air. That's not the case in this. Smith does a good job of keeping some logic involved and some thought process involved, so that's always a treat. Plus, Mara, the character herself, she's not a complete idiot. She gets herself into some situations. It's not always her fault, thank heavens. Her decisions are fairly well based, which is always also a nice thing to see. You don't see her saying, oh no, I'm going to head into danger, because I hate that. Doesn't happen in Mara's case. The only thing that bothered me in this book, is the romance. Nothing against romance. I like romances too. This one, however, had two things that always nitpick at me. Love triangle and love at first sight. Can't stand those things personally. However, I have to give it to Kristin Smith. She did put some interesting twists and turns into it and made the love triangle a little bit different than what one normally sees, especially at the end of the book, so I'm not going to give you any spoilers. There is a massive bomb that comes, totally shocking, totally grabbing. At the end of this book, seriously, I read this about the triangle set. I'm not a triangle fan, but I read this last part. I immediately wished I had book 2 just so I could see what would happen next. In other words, it's a cliffhanger ending, and what for one. There's a ton of stuff that this character still has to work out. I love this book, had to read it in one sitting, which totally shocked me. And so I'm saying I'm going to keep seeing what goes on in this series. Kristin Smith, an author to look out for. And I'm going to get back to my hay bales. They're kind of scratchy. But we'll see you next time. And until then, don't forget to feed that bookworm.